and welcome to Auto Today. Now Kia has always impressed us with some really sporty designs in India. And now we have this, the Carens. The Carens slots in somewhere between an SUV and an MPV. It is not as muscular looking as the SUV, and at the same time it's smooth as a MPV. But it promises a lot more, and we are here to find out. But before we do any of that, do remember to subscribe to the Auto Today YouTube channel and press that little bell icon because you get notified every time we go live with a new video. Now, as we told you, the Kia Carens slots in between being an MPV and an SUV, and the styling cues mimic that concept. If you look at the front end design, it looks really nice, really sporty. The front light patterns are very different from what we have seen on the Sonet and the Seltos. So you get a nice LED strip here which also doubles up as the daytime running light. You've got full LED headlamps, and then there's a LED fog lamp up front. To jazz up the front end design, what Kia designers have done is added a dash of chrome. So overall, if you look at this car from the front end, it is a very different take on Kias. But the real fun begins when you look at the side of the car. Now Kia claimed that the Carens has the best wheelbase in its class, and by the looks of the size of the rear door, they are telling the truth. You can see that the rear door is a huge thing. The reason behind this door being so big is because it's got a third row, and to get to that third row, accessibility is very important. The only thing which is very different are the 16-inch wheels. I mean, a little larger pattern would definitely have been better. Now, much like the front end design, the rear end design of the Kia Carens is very striking and different. Now, the main reason for that is this tail light cluster. Now, this is a wraparound tail light cluster, full LED lights here, and they are joined by this reflective strip at the back. Now, if you remember the Taigun, what Volkswagen designers have done is added a light pattern here. So if they would have done that with the Carens, it would have looked really striking and really different. Now, much like the front end, the rear end bumper also gets a dash of chrome, and that adds to the sportiness of the car. But overall, if you ask us, the rear end design of the Carens look more like an MPV rather than an SUV. As mentioned before, Kia has taken utmost care to make sure that the Carens offers good comfort and accessibility to the second and third rows. Hence, the Carens offers a rather long wheelbase of 2780mm. Also notice that the rear doors are rather long and allow for easy ingress. But more on that later. It will also be apt to mention here that Kia is offering the Carens with 6 airbags and a host of other safety features. Now inside, the Kia Carens is a very unique place to be, and that is primarily because of the color combinations you see inside. Now as you can see, it's a nice black, it's a piano black actually, with nice contours all around, and then you have a blue and beige combination which is nice and contrasting. It looks really nice. Apart from that, you also get a large touchscreen infotainment system which is a very nice unit. It's connected to a Bose speaker system, and you also get navigation, Apple CarPlay and all those things. You also get climate control, and right below sits the center console which has a plethora of buttons. Now you have controls for the ventilated seat, your parking cameras. You also get twin charging points here. One is a USB, one is a Type-C, and you also get a 12-volt socket here. Now this being the diesel automatic, you get paddle shifters, and you also get drive modes. So you can select between Eco, Normal and Sport. It looks very nice. This is especially the case of the instrument panel. It's an all digital affair. The display is nice and rich, and you can have, I think, 64 ambient lighting options inside, and that's mainly related to the dashboard. But when it comes to utility, there are a lot of little things which make a lot of difference. Like there's a nice little slot here which if I press, you have a place to park your parking tickets, your cards and things like that. Very handy. You also get cup holders, twin cup holders, and you can flow the AC vents into this. So basically if you are on a heat mode, then this will heat up the cup holders, and if you're on cool mode, it'll cool the cups. So overall, nice, very nice cabin inside the front especially, and you also get wireless charging. So that's standard amongst most cars these days. Now it's about time we go back and see how much space it offers, because you remember I told you that this is somewhere between an MPV and an SUV. So let's have a look at the back and see how much space and what are the features you get in the Kia Carens. Wow, but the first thing I want to say is the amount of space we've got in here. It's really MPV class. You can see that there's a lot of space here. I've got a lot of headroom, and then starts the feature list on this car. Now to begin with, we have rear AC vents, which are very cleverly placed on the roof. So in spite of having a sunroof, we do get an AC vent up here. It's a nice flush fitting unit, so it doesn't protrude or look odd here at all. Now, other features which have really been impressive is the basically you get this as a 7 and a 6 seater, and this is the 7-seater version. So what essentially it means is you get a bench in the back, but if you want comfort of, well, the captain seats, very close to that, all you need to do is flip this down and you get twin cup holders here, and you have got an armrest also. Now in this mode it mimics a captain seat, but in case the need be, you can always flip this up and use it as a 7-seater. Other features? Well, in front of me is a smart air purification system, let me put it that way. And this system cleans the air within the car, and you can also clean the filter from here itself. You just pull this down, there's a procedure, of course you will get a video to clean the filter yourself. You can do it at home. Next, you get controls for your aircon vent, so it's a nice rotary dial. Although it feels a bit flimsy, it looks really nice. You get twin Type-C charging ports and a small little cubby hole there. Now, adding to the MPV bit of this car, you get a rather nifty feature here, which is a picnic table with a cup holder. So in case you are traveling, you can slot in your iPad, tablet, whatever here, and you can continue watching it. It's really nice. But the main thing about this car is the third row. Now this is where it differentiates itself from the Seltos. So how is the third row? Is it usable? And for that, I will call in my buddy, my colleague, Dhruv, who is our resident third row tester. So Dhruv, why don't you come inside?
Hi Rahul, I'm here to try out the third row of the Carens, but before I get in, I want to point out this button, which is an electric release, one touch tumble for the second row. So you just press it like that and the seat flips up. So the third row of the Kia Carens, one of its USPs is the fact that it has the longest wheelbase in the segment, and that shows when you're sitting in the last row. As you can see, Rahul has adjusted his seat for a comfortable position, and with that I too have enough leg room, knee room here. My height is 5'8" for reference, and you can see there's still some space in front of my knees. I have enough space under the second row for my legs to stretch out. Thigh support is decent as well. The seating position is not too knees up, which tends to be the case in a lot of 3-row vehicles. So all in all, very comfortable seat. You have 3-point seat belts for both passengers. You've got dedicated aircon vents as well. You've got cup holders, and you've got USB Type-C charging ports. And even with all 3 rows up, you get more than 200 liters of luggage space. So all in all, even with the 3 rows up, even with 7 people on board, you have a decent amount of luggage space for small bags. Of course, to maximize boot space, you have to fold the third row down, but in case you're traveling with a full load, you still have enough space in the boot to place some luggage.
Kia is offering the Carens with a choice of 3 engines. With us here though, we have the 1.4 litre turbocharged petrol, which offers 140 bhp and 242 Newton meters of torque. Kia says that it can make the Carens sprint to 100 kmph in 10 seconds and offer a fuel economy of 16.2 kmpl in manual transmission, guys. The second option we have here is the 1.5 litre diesel, which is tuned to offer 115 bhp and 250 Newton meters of torque. We have the automatic transmission variant with us, and this means that we get paddle shifters and drive modes too. With a claimed fuel economy of 18.4 kmpl, the Kia Carens diesel is surely going to up the ante. But how are these cars to drive? Let's find out. The 1.4-liter turbo petrol comes in with a high level of smoothness. The motor does not send in vibes within the cabin, and at the same time the excellent NVH packaging of the Carens ensures that the cabin remains quiet. On the go, we did feel a lack of power under the 1500 RPM mark. Things like a speed breaker, where one would expect the car to go in second, will require a shift into first in most cases. But what is astonishing is the way the motor transforms beyond the 1500 mark. You see, generally we see a dollop of power coming in within turbocharged motors. But in case of the Carens, the power delivery is very steady. It is a much linear fashion and we like it a lot. This means cruising in the Carens is going to be rather easy. With the turbos pulled, even overtaking is no big deal and can be done without having to downshift. Excellent, we must say. The clutch on the manual version felt light, although not as progressive as we would have liked it to be. But the 6-speed manual is a smooth shifter. Moving from the petrol to the 1.5 diesel surely meant that we could hear the motor a little bit within the cabin. But within a few minutes we started ignoring it as it was not very high. Having paired to the 6-speed automatic, the diesel variant offers the luxury of paddle shifters and drive modes. The diesel motor also offers an abundance of torque, and that means the Kia can zip fast. Kia claims a 0 to 100 time of 13.4 seconds, and that is respectable for a car of this class. The shifts from the gearbox are smooth and the driver can play around with the paddle shifters to make the car shift at will. However, in sport mode, things get to enjoyable levels as the motor holds on to the revs and thus providing more go. With a high fuel efficiency claim, the Carens diesel makes a lot of sense for itself even now. Where the Kia really stands out is in this department, ride and handling. The suspension is tuned rather well, and as a result the Kia offers good ride quality. The car takes on rough stuff with ease and very little is sent inside the cabin. Even the speed humps, or rather the bigger speed humps, could not throw the Carens off kilter. The steering too is light and tuned well. With a turning radius of just 5.32 meters, the Carens can surely deal with tight city spaces with ease. At the end of the day, the Carens has proved to be rather impressive. The first thing to consider is the ease of access to the second and the third row and the amount of space it offers within. Then there is the ride quality. Last but not the least, the multitude of variants should make this fit a host of requirements. But we still cannot decide whether to call it an SUV or an MPV. Let's say that the Carens is more of a crossover between the two. But what do you think? Is it a SUV? Is it an MPV? Let us know in the comments below.